Chosen one, listen to me carefully. What I am about to share is not for everyone. This message is urgent and it carries weight. If you are not walking the divine path of God, if your heart is closed to truth, you will feel uncomfortable here, and that is your sign to leave. This message is only for those who truly follow God, those who have been set apart, those who are chosen. If you are still watching, understand this clearly. This message has reached you at the exact moment it was meant to. Not early, not late. Perfect timing. God allowed this video to cross your path because your spirit was ready to hear it. Chosen one, there are forces you cannot see that have been paying close attention to you. 3 demonic influences are actively trying to attack your family, not because they are weak, but because you are strong. This is not meant to scare you. This is God's warning, and warnings are always an act of protection. Stay with me till the very end, because what you will understand today will bring clarity, peace, and authority back into your spirit. Many of you will finally realize why certain things have been happening around your loved ones. Before we continue, chosen ones, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon so you don't miss what God is revealing here, and comment 777 in the comments as a sign that you are aligned, aware, and ready to receive what God is about to unfold.
Why the family of the Chosen One is always targeted. Chosen One, I want you to calm your spirit for a moment and listen carefully. What I am about to explain will lift a heavy weight from your mind. Many of you have been asking God in silence, why is it always my family? Why do the people I love the most seem to struggle, misunderstand each other, or go through unnecessary pressure? And today, God wants you to understand the truth, not emotionally, but spiritually. The family of a chosen one is never random territory. It is sacred ground, and anything that is sacred becomes a target. Darkness does not attack what has no purpose. Demons are not interested in ordinary lives that pose no spiritual threat. They move strategically. They observe. They study. And when they recognize a chosen one, they do not always go directly for the chosen one first. They go for what is closest to their heart. Your family is your emotional anchor. It is where your guard naturally comes down. It is where your love is deepest. And that is exactly why it becomes the battlefield. Not because your family is weak, but because your connection to them is strong. The enemy understands something many people overlook. If they can disturb your peace at home, they can distract your focus from your divine assignment. You see, chosen ones are built differently. You can endure personal attacks. You can withstand rejection. You can even walk alone if necessary. But when the struggle touches your parents, your children, your spouse, or those you love deeply, it hits a different part of your soul, and that is intentional. Let me say this clearly, and let it settle into your spirit. Not every family conflict is human. Not every misunderstanding is emotional. Not every repeated pattern is coincidence. Some things are spiritual manipulations designed to drain, confuse, and slow down the chosen one. This does not mean your family members are bad people. It does not mean they are against you. It means that unseen forces exploit emotional closeness. Demonic influence rarely enters through obvious doors. It slips in quietly through fatigue, stress, fear, pride, and unresolved emotions. It whispers instead of shouts. It plants seeds instead of storms. And because you are spiritually sensitive, you often feel the tension before others do. You sense when something is off, even when no one can explain it. That sensitivity is not a weakness. It is a gift. But it also makes you feel responsible for fixing everything, holding everyone together, and carrying emotional weight that was never meant for you alone. Chosen one, hear me with wisdom now. The enemy does not want to destroy your family outright. That would be too obvious. Instead, the goal is distraction, exhaustion, and emotional division. Small arguments that turn cold, silence that lasts too long, financial pressure that creates anxiety, health worries that never fully resolve. These things slowly pull your attention away from your spiritual clarity. And when your mind is consumed with worry about your family, your prayer becomes heavier, your joy becomes quieter, your confidence becomes questioned. That is the strategy. But here is what you must understand so you do not fall into fear. The fact that your family is being targeted is not a sign of defeat. It is confirmation of significance. It is evidence that your spiritual growth has reached a level that cannot be ignored anymore. Darkness never attacks what God is not actively using. Many chosen ones make the mistake of internalizing family struggles as personal failure. They think, if I were more spiritual, this wouldn't be happening. If my faith were stronger, my family would be at peace. That thought does not come from God. That thought comes from accusation. And accusation is one of the enemy's favorite tools. God never measures your calling by the absence of struggle. He measures it by how you stand in the middle of it. Another truth you need to hear is this: your family members may not even realize they are being influenced. That is why reacting emotionally only makes things worse. When you argue from frustration, you feed the very energy that is trying to grow. When you respond with calm authority, awareness, and peace, you weaken it. Chosen one, your role was never to fight your family. Your role is to stand as spiritual covering. And spiritual covering does not shout. It does not panic. It does not force. It remains steady. You were placed in your family line for a reason. God knew the patterns before you were born. He saw what needed healing, protection, and transformation. And He chose you, not because you are perfect, but because you are willing. This is why you often feel like the emotional backbone of your family. This is why you are the one who holds things together, even when no one acknowledges it. This is why you are the one who seeks peace when others seek control. You were positioned not by accident, but by design. Let me also say this gently, because some of you need to hear it without shame. Being chosen does not mean you will be understood by your family immediately. Sometimes, the very people you are meant to protect will not recognize your role until much later. And that is okay. Recognition is not required for obedience. The enemy knows that if they can make you doubt your place in your own family, they can make you feel isolated. And isolation is dangerous for the spirit. That is why God is speaking to you now. He wants you grounded, aware, and calm. You are not losing control. You are gaining discernment. You are not under attack because you are failing. You are under attention because you are progressing. Your family is not cursed. They are covered, even if they do not know it yet. Take a breath here, chosen one. Let your shoulders relax. The moment you understand what is happening, the battle already shifts. Awareness breaks confusion. Truth dissolves fear. And God never reveals something unless He has already prepared you to handle it. In the next part, I am going to reveal the 3 specific demonic assignments that try to work against the families of chosen ones. And as I speak, many of you will recognize patterns instantly, not to scare you, but to free you. Let me add this final truth to anchor your spirit even deeper. When you begin to see family struggles through spiritual eyes, you stop reacting and you start responding. You stop blaming yourself. You stop absorbing emotions that were never meant to live inside you. This is where maturity begins. God is not asking you to carry your family's burdens alone. He is asking you to stand aware, grounded, and connected to Him. The pressure you feel is not meant to crush you. It is meant to awaken you. And once awakened, you become untouchable in ways you never were before. The 3 demonic assignments against your family. Chosen one, now we go deeper. This is the part where many of you will quietly say to yourself, "This explains everything." I want you to listen without fear, without tension, and without overthinking. What I am about to reveal is not new to the spiritual realm, but it may be new to your conscious awareness. And awareness is power. Dark forces do not move randomly. They move with assignments. They do not act emotionally. They act strategically. When a chosen one rises to a certain level of spiritual clarity, 3 specific assignments are often released against their family. Not all at once in obvious ways, but gradually, subtly, and patiently. That is how influence works. The first assignment is division through misunderstanding. This is the most common and the most effective tactic. Suddenly, conversations feel heavier than they used to. Words are taken the wrong way. Intentions are misunderstood. You say something with love, but it is received as criticism. You offer help, but it is interpreted as control. Over time, this creates emotional distance without any clear reason. Notice this carefully. The division does not usually start with big arguments. It starts with small emotional fractures. A tone, a look, a reaction that feels unnecessary, silence that lasts longer than it should. And because you are emotionally intelligent, you are often the first to notice it. You try to fix it. You explain yourself. You over-clarify. And when that doesn't work, you retreat inward. That retreat is exactly what the assignment hopes for. Division weakens spiritual authority because unity strengthens it. When a family is emotionally divided, prayer feels heavier, peace feels fragile, and the chosen one begins to question their own energy. You start wondering if you are the problem. Let me be clear with you. You are not. This assignment thrives on confusion, not truth. It wants you doubting your heart. It wants you second-guessing your intentions. And if you stay in that mental loop long enough, you become emotionally exhausted. Which leads to the second assignment. The second assignment is exhaustion through pressure. This one is subtle because it disguises itself as responsibility. Suddenly you feel like everything depends on you. Financial pressure increases. Emotional needs pile up. Health concerns appear and disappear without resolution. You are constantly thinking about what needs to be fixed next. Chosen one, exhaustion is not always physical. Sometimes it is mental. Sometimes it is emotional. Sometimes it is spiritual. You can sleep and still feel tired. You can rest and still feel heavy. That is not laziness. That is pressure accumulation. This assignment works by draining your inner stillness. When you are exhausted, you pray less intentionally. Not because you don't believe, but because your mind feels crowded, your thoughts race, your spirit feels noisy, and peace feels distant. Here is the dangerous part. Many chosen ones confuse exhaustion with weakness. They think, I should be stronger than this. I should handle this better. That self-judgment is not from God. God never shames you for feeling tired. He invites you to rest in Him. The enemy, however, wants you tired enough to react instead of respond, tired enough to speak sharply, tired enough to withdraw emotionally, tired enough to lose patience with the very people you love. And when exhaustion settles into the household, joy slowly disappears. Laughter becomes rare. Conversations become functional instead of warm. Love is still there, but it feels buried under responsibility. Now listen to me carefully here. If you have been feeling unusually tired without clear reason, especially when it comes to family matters, that is not random. That is pressure trying to weaken your spiritual posture. But pressure only works when it is carried alone. Which brings me to the third assignment. The third assignment is fear disguised as concern. This one is dangerous because it feels justified. You tell yourself you are just being careful, just being responsible, just being realistic. But slowly, your thoughts begin to lean toward worst-case scenarios. You worry about your family's future, their health, their decisions, their safety. Concern turns into anxiety. Anxiety turns into mental images you never invited, and fear begins to sit quietly in the background of your mind. Fear is not loud at first. It whispers. It shows up as overthinking at night, as restlessness, as a tight feeling in your chest when you think about certain family members. And because you care deeply, fear attaches itself to love. This assignment aims to keep your mind occupied. When your mind is occupied, your faith feels interrupted. Not gone, but interrupted. You still believe in God, but your thoughts don't rest easily in Him. Fear also creates control. You start wanting to manage outcomes. You try to protect everyone from every possibility, and that is an impossible burden. God never asked you to carry omnipotence. That role is His. Chosen one, hear this with clarity. Fear does not mean you lack faith, it means you care. But unmanaged fear becomes a doorway, and the enemy only needs a small opening. Now, here is what connects all three assignments. Division, exhaustion, and fear all pull you out of the present moment. They drag your mind into past hurts or future worries, and God meets you in the present. The goal is not to destroy your family. The goal is to distract you from your center. Let me speak to you as a teacher now, not just a messenger. These assignments only work when they go unnoticed. Once you see them, they begin to lose strength. Demons cannot operate freely in awareness. They thrive in ignorance and confusion. You do not fight these assignments by arguing with family members. You do not fight them by forcing peace. You fight them by stabilizing your spirit. Calm is not passive. Calm is authority under control. When you stop reacting emotionally, division loses fuel. When you rest intentionally, exhaustion loses grip. When you release outcomes to God, fear dissolves. Some of you are realizing now that you have been responding to spiritual pressure as if it were purely human, and that is understandable. God does not blame you for that. But now that you know, your response changes. I want you to understand something deeply comforting. These assignments did not start because you are weak. They started because you reached a threshold. You crossed into a level of awareness and influence that required opposition. And here is the part many people never tell you. The presence of opposition often means the assignment is close to manifestation. Darkness resists hardest before losing ground. Your family is not breaking apart. They are under refinement. You are not overwhelmed because you are failing. You are overwhelmed because you are carrying more responsibility than before. And God sees it all. In the next part, I will talk about the signs you may have missed, not because you were careless, but because your heart is pure. This is where many chosen ones finally release guilt and understand themselves with compassion. Stay with me. This is where healing begins. Let me take you even deeper, because some of you are still trying to logically process what your spirit already knows. These three assignments often overlap, and that is why things can feel confusing. One day, it feels like emotional distance. Another day, it feels like overwhelming responsibility. Another day, it feels like quiet fear with no clear source. When these cycles repeat, the mind looks for personal fault, but the spirit recognizes a pattern. Chosen one, you must understand this gently. The enemy studies timing. They often intensify pressure during moments when you are spiritually growing, praying more, thinking deeper, or stepping away from old habits. That is not coincidence. That is reaction. Growth attracts resistance. Another thing many chosen ones overlook is how these assignments attempt to distort your identity within your family. You may feel unseen, unappreciated, or misunderstood, even though you are giving your best. That emotional isolation is intentional. It is meant to make you question your role and withdraw your light. But light was never meant to be negotiated. It was meant to be steady. And here is a powerful truth. Even when these assignments are active, they are limited. They cannot cross boundaries God has already set. They can influence emotions, but they cannot override divine protection. They can create noise, but they cannot cancel God's promise. If you ever felt like something was pressing against your family's peace but couldn't put it into words, that awareness itself is evidence of discernment. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be to see clearly now. Take a slow breath here. Let your mind settle. The more grounded you become, the weaker these assignments grow. Signs you missed because you are too pure-hearted. Chosen one, this part may feel personal, and that is intentional. Not to accuse you, not to make you feel guilty, but to help you finally understand yourself with compassion. Many of you missed the early signs not because you were careless, but because your heart is sincere. You see the good first. You hope for the best. You give people the benefit of the doubt. And while those qualities are beautiful, they can also delay discernment. Pure-hearted people often assume others operate from the same place they do. You don't immediately suspect manipulation. You don't look for hidden motives. You listen more than you speak. You forgive quickly. And because of that, Subtle spiritual shifts can go unnoticed for longer than they should. One of the first signs you may have missed is emotional discomfort without logical explanation. You felt uneasy after certain conversations, even when nothing openly negative was said. Something felt off, but you dismissed it. You told yourself you were overthinking. You told yourself to stay patient. That inner discomfort was not imagination. It was discernment, quietly trying to speak. Another sign was a change in atmosphere. You may have noticed that your home felt heavier at times, not constantly, just in waves. Laughter still happened, but it didn't linger. Peace was present, but it felt fragile. Again, you brushed it off. You blamed stress, work, tiredness, life. And yes, life brings pressure. But spiritual pressure feels different. It sits deeper. Chosen ones often ignore their intuition because they do not want to accuse or offend. You would rather absorb discomfort than create tension. You would rather carry the weight than confront it. And that is where your kindness becomes a burden you never meant to carry. Another sign was repeated patterns that never fully resolved. Issues that seemed to end but kept resurfacing. Apologies that didn't restore closeness. Solutions that didn't bring peace. When patterns repeat, it is rarely about the surface issue. It is about an underlying influence that hasn't been addressed yet. Let me say this carefully. God speaks to chosen ones quietly first. He nudges, he stirs, he unsettles before he alarms. And because you are gentle, you often mistake his nudges for your own thoughts. You wait, you pray silently, you hope things will shift on their own. Sometimes they do, and sometimes God allows things to continue just long enough for you to recognize that patience alone is not the same as discernment. Another sign you may have missed is emotional overextension. You found yourself giving more than usual, listening more, fixing more, absorbing more. You became the emotional container for everyone else's stress, and because you loved deeply, you didn't notice how tired you were becoming. Pure-hearted people often feel responsible for emotional harmony. When tension appears, you feel like it is your job to restore balance. That sense of responsibility can be beautiful, but it can also be exploited. Not by your family intentionally, but by spiritual pressure that pushes you into self-neglect. You may also have missed the sign of inner withdrawal. Even while staying present physically, part of you started pulling back emotionally. You became quieter, more reflective, less expressive, not because you didn't care, but because something inside you felt overwhelmed. That is not avoidance. That is self-protection trying to activate. Chosen one, hear this without defense. God never asked you to be endlessly accommodating. He asked you to be wise. Wisdom knows when to pause, when to speak, and when to observe. Another subtle sign is how you responded in prayer. You may have noticed that your prayers shifted from gratitude to concern, from peace to asking, from rest to effort. Prayer began to feel heavier, not absent, but heavier. That heaviness is not failure. It is signal. Many chosen ones also miss signs because they are trained to endure. You are strong. You are resilient. You have survived things that would have broken others. So when something feels uncomfortable, your instinct is to push through. Endurance has carried you far, but discernment must now carry you forward. Let me correct something gently. Endurance is not always the answer. Sometimes awareness is. God never intended for you to normalize heaviness. He intended for you to notice it. Some of you also missed signs because you believed love means unlimited tolerance. But love without boundaries becomes self-sacrifice without wisdom. Jesus loved deeply, but he also withdrew when necessary. He rested. He separated himself from crowds. That was not weakness. That was alignment. The enemy does not attack your strength directly. It tests your compassion. It pushes you to overgive, to overextend, to overfunction. And because your heart is pure, you don't see it as a threat. You see it as responsibility. Chosen one, this is not a rebuke. This is clarity. God is not disappointed in you. He is proud of your heart. But he is now inviting you into a deeper level of wisdom, one where kindness and discernment walk together, one where love includes boundaries, one where peace is protected, not negotiated. The fact that you are hearing this now means the season of confusion is ending. Awareness is rising, and when awareness rises, guilt must leave. You are not wrong, you are learning. In the next part, I will explain why God allowed this to go as far as it did, and why it was not punishment, but preparation. Stay with me. Let me add something important here, because some of you are still quietly blaming yourselves. You keep replaying moments in your mind, thinking you should have noticed sooner, spoken earlier, acted differently. Release that burden now. God does not operate on regret. He operates on timing, and his timing is never rushed, never delayed. Sometimes God allows pure-hearted people to experience discomfort long enough to teach them the difference between peacekeeping and peaceholding. You are learning discernment in real time that cannot be taught only through words. It must be lived. Also understand this: missing signs did not weaken your calling. It refined it. You now see with depth, not suspicion. You understand patterns without becoming hardened. That is rare. That is valuable. You are not behind. You are ahead with wisdom, and wisdom always arrives right on time. Why God allowed this attack to come this far? Chosen one, this is the question many of you have been afraid to ask out loud. Why would God allow this to continue for so long? Why didn't he stop it sooner? Why did he let the pressure build around my family when he knows how deeply I care? These are not sinful questions. They are honest ones. And God is not threatened by your honesty. Let me tell you the truth with clarity and peace. God does not allow what he cannot redeem, and he does not delay intervention without purpose. There is a difference between protection and preparation. In the early stages of your spiritual life, God protects you from things you are not yet equipped to understand. But as you grow, his role shifts, not because he loves you less, but because he trusts you more. What once required shielding now requires strengthening. Chosen one, this season is not about punishment. It is about promotion. God allowed this situation to reach a certain level because he was developing something in you that cannot be rushed. Spiritual authority rooted in discernment, not fear. Authority that does not panic under pressure. Authority that does not react emotionally. Authority that stands firm even when emotions are stirred around it. If God had stopped everything at the first sign of discomfort, you would have remained dependent on external peace. Instead, he is teaching you how to carry internal peace regardless of circumstances. That is maturity. Another reason God allowed this to go on is because he was exposing patterns. Some things only reveal themselves over time. Repetition brings clarity. Patterns bring truth. God wanted you to see what was temporary stress and what was spiritual interference. And now you can tell the difference. This season also strengthened your compassion. You did not harden. You did not grow bitter. Even under pressure, you tried to understand. That tells God a lot about your heart. And God entrusts responsibility to those who remain loving under strain. Let me say something that may surprise you. God is more concerned with who you become than what you avoid. Avoidance keeps you safe. Transformation makes you useful. You are not just being prepared to be protected. You are being prepared to protect. Your family is part of that preparation, not as victims, but as witnesses to your growth. They may not recognize it now, but they will benefit from the stability you are developing. Another reason God allowed this is because he was teaching you surrender at a deeper level. You care deeply. You want to fix everything. You want to shield everyone. But some things must be entrusted back to God, not emotionally, but consciously. True surrender is not giving up. It is letting go of control while staying present. This season forced you to confront the limits of your own strength. And that is not failure. That is humility. And humility is where God's strength flows most freely. Chosen one, God also allowed this because he was removing illusions. The illusion that you could carry everything. The illusion that being chosen means being spared from pressure. The illusion that peace is the absence of conflict. These illusions quietly dissolve as wisdom grows. What replaces them is something far stronger, grounded faith. Faith that does not need perfect conditions. Faith that does not demand immediate resolution. Faith that trusts God's presence even when answers are delayed. God never abandons his chosen, but he does stretch them. Stretching is uncomfortable. It creates tension, but it also increases capacity. You now have more emotional capacity, more spiritual awareness, more discernment than before. That did not come easily, and it was not accidental. Some of you are realizing now that if this had happened earlier in your life, you would not have handled it well. You would have reacted. You would have spoken from pain. You would have distanced yourself emotionally. But now, you are responding differently. That is growth. God allowed this season because he saw the version of you on the other side of it. You are becoming steady. You are becoming calm under pressure. You are becoming someone who does not collapse when others are unstable. That is leadership. And leadership is often forged in quiet battles that no one applauds. Let me reassure you of something important. God has not been watching from a distance. He has been present in every moment. He has been limiting the reach of what you could not see. He has been protecting the core even while allowing the surface to be tested. There are boundaries darkness cannot cross, and God set those boundaries long before this season began. You were never in danger of losing your family. You were being trained to lead them spiritually, not forcefully, but firmly. This is not the end of the story. This is the turning point. In the next part, I will guide you through what you must do now to protect your family without fear, without confrontation, and without exhausting yourself. This is where peace becomes practical. Stay with me. Let me add this final layer of understanding because it will settle your heart even more. God also allowed this season to reveal where you were still carrying things alone. Chosen ones are strong, but strength can quietly become self-reliance. And God, in his wisdom, sometimes allows pressure so you remember where true support comes from. This was not about testing your limits to break you. It was about inviting you to lean deeper into him, to pray differently, to trust differently, to rest differently. And now that awareness has arrived, the weight begins to lift. Nothing in this season was wasted. Every moment sharpened your discernment, softened your heart, and anchored your faith. You are walking out of this wiser, not wounded. What you must do now to protect your family. Chosen one, this is where fear must end and authority must begin. Everything I have shared so far was not to overwhelm you, but to position you. Awareness without action creates anxiety. Awareness with wisdom creates peace. And God is not calling you to fight loudly. He is calling you to stand firmly. The first thing you must do is slow your inner world down. I know that sounds simple, but it is not easy. When pressure rises around family, the mind wants to rush. It wants to fix, correct, explain, and control. That urgency does not come from God. God moves with clarity, not panic. When your inner world is calm, your outer environment begins to respond differently. You protect your family first by protecting your peace. Peace is not passivity. Peace is stability. When you refuse to react emotionally, you remove the fuel that spiritual interference feeds on. Division weakens when there is no emotional explosion. Exhaustion loosens when you stop carrying what was never yours. Fear dissolves when outcomes are released back to God. Chosen one, you must understand this deeply. You do not need to confront every issue. You do not need to correct every misunderstanding. You do not need to defend your intentions constantly. Over-explaining drains authority. Calm presence strengthens it. The second thing you must do is change how you respond, not how you feel. Feelings will come. Concern will arise. Love will remain. But response is a choice. When you feel tension in your family, pause before speaking. Silence used wisely is not avoidance. It is discernment. Many chosen ones speak too soon because they want resolution quickly. God often works through timing, not immediacy. When you speak, speak from stillness, not pressure. This is important. Words spoken from emotional charge may be honest, but they are not always helpful. Words spoken from calm carry weight, even when they are few. Your family does not need sermons. They need consistency. They need to feel safe in your presence. Safety disarms spiritual pressure more effectively than confrontation ever could. The third thing you must do is set internal boundaries. Notice I said internal, not external. You cannot control how others behave, but you can control what you absorb. Chosen ones often feel everything. You sense moods, you feel shifts, you pick up on unspoken tension. That sensitivity must now be guided by wisdom. You are allowed to care without carrying. When family members are anxious, you do not need to internalize that anxiety. When they are confused, you do not need to fix it immediately. When they are distant, you do not need to chase closeness. Love does not mean emotional self-sacrifice. It means presence without depletion. Begin to ask yourself quietly, is this mine to carry? If the answer is no, release it to God. This is not detachment. This is alignment. The fourth thing you must do is pray differently. Not longer, not louder, differently. Many of you have been praying from concern instead of trust, from effort instead of rest. Shift your prayer posture. Instead of asking God to fix everything, begin to thank Him for what He is already holding. Speak peace over your family without attaching outcomes. Declare protection without fear in your voice. Prayer is most powerful when it flows from confidence, not desperation. You do not need to inform God of what He already sees. You align with what He is already doing. Another powerful thing you must do is guard your inner dialogue. Pay attention to how you speak to yourself about your family. If your thoughts are filled with worry, worst-case scenarios, or self-blame, gently interrupt them. Not with force, but with truth. Fear grows in repetition. Peace grows in redirection. Chosen one, your thoughts shape your emotional atmosphere more than you realize. When your mind rests, your spirit strengthens. And when your spirit strengthens, the environment shifts. Now listen carefully. One of the most important protections you can offer your family is emotional consistency. Be the same in calm and pressure. Be steady when others are reactive. Be grounded when others are uncertain. That steadiness creates spiritual covering without words. You do not need to announce your authority. You embody it. Another thing you must do is stop explaining your role. Some of you feel frustrated because your family does not see what you see. They do not understand why you are calmer, why you respond differently, why you no longer engage in certain patterns. Let them wonder. Understanding often comes later. Alignment comes now. God did not choose you to be validated. He chose you to be effective. You also must protect your energy intentionally. Rest is not laziness. Rest is spiritual maintenance. When you are rested, you are less reactive. When you are exhausted, you are vulnerable. Make space for quiet. Make space for stillness. Make space where your mind can settle without demands. Even Jesus withdrew. You are not meant to be available emotionally at all times. Availability without rest leads to burnout. Burnout weakens discernment, and discernment is essential in this season. Chosen one, another protection is refusing to personalize everything. Not every mood shift is about you. Not every reaction is your responsibility. Not every silence is rejection. When you personalize too much, you give spiritual pressure access to your emotions. Step back. Observe without absorbing. Observation is wisdom. Absorption is exhaustion. Let me say something that may feel freeing. You are allowed to be peaceful even if others are not. You are allowed to be hopeful even when outcomes are unclear. You are allowed to trust God without having all the answers. Peace does not require agreement. It requires alignment. Finally, you must trust that God is working beyond what you can see. You are not late. You are not failing. You are not missing something critical. You are responding exactly as a maturing chosen one does, calmly, thoughtfully, steadily. This is how families are protected spiritually, not through fear, not through force, but through grounded presence, consistent peace, and unwavering trust. In the next part, I will show you what happens after this season passes, what God restores, what strengthens, and how your family begins to experience peace in ways they may not even realize came through you. Stay with me. You are doing better than you think. Let me add this final instruction because it may be the most important one of all. Do not measure progress by immediate change. Spiritual shifts often happen quietly before they become visible. When you choose calm over reaction, you may not see instant results, but something is already loosening beneath the surface. Also, be gentle with yourself in this process. You are unlearning patterns while learning new ones. That takes patience. There will be moments when old reactions rise again. Do not condemn yourself. Simply return to awareness. Return to stillness. Return to trust. And remember this, chosen one. You are not responsible for saving your family. That role belongs to God. You are responsible for being aligned, present, and faithful. When you stay aligned, God does the heavy lifting. Rest in that truth. Peace grows where pressure once lived. The reward after this season passes. Chosen one, I want you to listen to this part slowly, not with urgency, not with anxiety, but with a settled heart. Because what I am about to speak is not speculation, it is spiritual law. Every season God allows has an ending, and every test you walk through in alignment carries a reward that is deeper than what you lost. This season will pass, and when it does, you will not simply return to who you were before. You will rise as someone steadier, clearer, and more grounded than you have ever been. The first reward you will notice is internal peace. Not the kind of peace that depends on everyone else behaving differently, but the kind that remains even when life is imperfect. You will wake up one day and realize your mind is quieter. The constant mental noise will fade. The overthinking will loosen its grip. You will still care about your family deeply, but the weight you once carried will no longer sit on your chest. That peace is not emotional numbness. It is spiritual security. You will begin to trust God without checking constantly for signs. You will stop scanning for what might go wrong. You will rest more naturally in the present moment. And that inner shift will affect everything around you. The second reward is emotional authority. Without announcing it, without forcing it, your family will begin to feel different around you. Conversations will soften, reactions will slow. Tension will not escalate as quickly, not because you demanded change, but because your steadiness recalibrates the atmosphere. People respond to calm authority instinctively. When you stop reacting emotionally, others subconsciously regulate themselves around you. You become a safe place without trying to be one. This is something many chosen ones underestimate. Your presence alone carries influence, and after this season, that influence becomes noticeable. You will also notice that misunderstandings resolve faster. Not because there are fewer differences, but because they no longer carry emotional charge. Words lose their sting. Silence no longer feels threatening. Space becomes peaceful instead of heavy. That is restoration. Another reward is clarity about your role. You will no longer feel confused about how much to give, when to speak, or when to step back. Discernment will become instinctive. You will sense when to engage and when to remain quiet. You will stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. You will stop seeking validation for doing what feels aligned. Confidence will replace justification. This confidence will not make you louder. It will make you simpler. Your words will be fewer, but more impactful. Your decisions will be calmer, but more decisive. You will no longer feel pulled in multiple emotional directions at once. That clarity is a gift earned through pressure. Another reward is renewed strength. Not the frantic strength of pushing through, but the steady strength of endurance without strain. Your energy will return in a healthier form. You will feel less drained by interactions that once exhausted you. You will recover faster emotionally. You will laugh more freely again. Joy will return quietly. And when joy returns, it does not announce itself. It shows up in small moments. A light conversation, a peaceful evening, a sense of gratitude without reason. Those are signs that the season has shifted. Your family will also benefit in ways they may never fully articulate. They may not connect it to your spiritual growth. They may not recognize the internal work you have done, but they will feel the effects. Homes reflect the emotional state of their spiritual anchors, and you are one of them. Peace spreads silently. Another reward is deeper faith. Not faith that needs constant reassurance, but faith that trusts God's character even when circumstances are unclear. You will stop asking God to prove himself. You will start resting in who he is. That kind of faith is unshakable. You will also notice that your prayers change again. They become lighter, more grateful, less heavy, less urgent. You will pray from agreement instead of concern, from alignment instead of effort. Prayer becomes conversation again, not obligation. This season also unlocks leadership within you, not leadership that seeks control, but leadership that models stability. Others may come to you for advice without you advertising wisdom. They will sense that you carry something grounded, something reliable, something calm. That leadership was formed here, in the unseen battles, in the quiet moments of restraint, in the choice to respond instead of react. God trusts leaders who can remain composed under pressure. Another reward is emotional freedom. You will stop internalizing what does not belong to you. You will stop feeling responsible for everyone's feelings. You will stop carrying guilt for things you cannot control. That freedom does not make you cold, it makes you clear. And clarity protects love. You will also gain a deeper understanding of boundaries, not walls, but healthy limits. You will know where you end and others begin. That awareness prevents burnout. It preserves compassion. It sustains connection. Many chosen ones burn out because they confuse love with overextension. You will no longer make that mistake. And let me tell you something that will encourage you deeply. After this season, your family will be more protected than before. Not because everything will be perfect, but because spiritual interference loses power where awareness and peace exist. Darkness does not thrive in calm environments. The attacks you endured will not return in the same way. You have grown past the level they were effective at. Resistance changes when authority increases. This is how spiritual growth works. What once overwhelmed you no longer has access. Finally, the greatest reward is self-trust. You will trust your discernment. You will trust your pace. You will trust your relationship with God. You will no longer second-guess every feeling or thought. That trust creates emotional stability that no external circumstance can shake. Chosen one, you are not just surviving this season, you are being shaped by it. What feels heavy now is forming something strong. What feels confusing now is leading to clarity. What feels delayed now is preparing alignment. Hold steady. You are closer to peace than you realize. In the final part, I will help you seal this understanding with calm assurance, and I will remind you of who you are becoming as this chapter closes. Stay with me. Conclusion. Sealing the warning with peace. Chosen one, take a slow breath with me right now. Let your body relax. Let your mind settle. Everything you needed to hear has reached you, not by accident, but by divine timing. This message did not come to frighten you. It came to steady you. God never reveals a warning without already placing protection in motion. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not failing your family. You are standing exactly where you are meant to stand in this season. Awareness has already shifted the atmosphere. Calm has already weakened what was trying to disturb your peace. The moment you understood, the battle changed. Remember this always. You were never meant to fight your family. You were meant to cover them with steadiness, with wisdom, with grounded faith. And you are doing that now, even if it feels quiet, even if no one applauds it. Heaven sees it. Do not carry this message with heaviness. Carry it with confidence. You are protected. Your family is protected. God's hand has never left your situation. What felt overwhelming was only temporary pressure, not permanent damage. Walk forward gently. Speak less when needed. Rest without guilt. Trust without forcing. This is how chosen ones mature. This is how peace becomes unshakable. If this message resonated with your spirit, chosen one, now seal it. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon so you stay aligned with what God is revealing here, and comment 777 in the comments as a declaration that you are aware, protected, and walking in divine alignment. Remain steady, remain faithful. God is not finished with you yet.